Hi guys, and welcome to the first episode of my Cities Skylines series. My name is Mr. Brig, and you're tuned in to the Mr. Brig Plays YouTube channel. Today we're going to be starting off a map that I found on the Steam Workshop. This map was created by a user by the name of Tinkerbell, and it is called the Arcology. It is a huge interconnected map consisting of many circles, each with their own highway systems that extend underground as well as above ground. I believe there are even train networks under there and all sorts of lovely things. They've also very kindly added all of these dams and the wind turbines as well. So the city is producing an awful lot of electricity, but because that was put on prior, in the map editor, and we haven't placed it ourselves in the file, we're not actually being charged for that. So it feels like a little bit of a little bit cheaty, but with a map this large, the electricity demands are eventually going to be ridiculous, and with all the other money-making methods that I'm sure you're familiar with. If not, you'll learn a few today. Are going to more than cover what it would have cost for electricity anyway, so there's probably not too much need to worry about that. So I have got a few mods enabled here if anyone wants to know the main mods that I use. I can just let me know in the comments below, and I can upload a video on that. But it's nothing special. Pretty much the mods you will have been recommended from other YouTubers if you've watched them play this game. So yeah, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to start off by laying out some of the roads for my starting area. I'm going to do it a little bit differently because I've got something in mind for the money making side of things, and also for the beautification of each of the areas. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to build all of those roads, I'll do a nice little time lapse, and then I'll sort of explain what I've done at the end. Alright, speak soon. Okay, so there we go. I've done my basic road layout. So what I've decided to do is, rather than connect all of these incoming roads together, I'm going to leave them disconnected. Since the only thing that's in these anyway is going to be commercial and residential, I'm not going to be having heavy industry sort of inside of these circles if I can help it. I'll use some of these outer parts of the ring, which connects directly into the highway system, to do some of the heavier industry and other things like that, just to keep all of that traffic away from the centre of our sort of residential zones. What this will allow us to do, though, and this is sort of the biggest money cheat that I think exists in the game. I can't imagine there's a better one than this. So if you've got the Park Lives DLC, if you set up a park area, and to be perfectly honest, you could have the park area be the entirety of this circle. It really sort of doesn't matter. You set the park area up, and then what you do is you would have park entrances on each of these and connect those all up with park paths. That way, if a resident on one of these arms needs to get to one of the other arms, they'll go for a walk instead of taking out the car, as long as it's within sort of a certain distance. And residents in City Skylines are fairly happy to walk quite considerable distances as long as they have walking paths available. So what this means is you can then plop a few beauty items into this park area, and as the level increases, you can actually increase the price of those tickets. I think it caps out at something like 45. I mean, what are these currencies? Simoleons or something? Euro cent? I don't know what that symbol's meant to mean. But yeah, you can set those ticket prices really high, and they just pay them. They just pay them. So the park area just in here could very easily end up netting me sort of 100,000 an hour. So for that reason, there's no reason for me to play with the infinite money mod on, because I'm going to make an absolute ton of money from the park areas. They'll also improve the beauty of the area. So we've plopped down some of our starting zones. So what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to start the simulation and just let those build up a bit. Try and get sort of to our first tax bracket. One thing you may have noticed, although it might have been hard to spot in the time lapse, is I have a couple of mods on that mean I don't need to use electrical wires or pipes. It just makes it a little bit easier to manage, particularly with a map that's got as much underground stuff going on as this one. I didn't want to have to faff around with pipes. I don't think they do interfere with roads and such, but you know, there's a lot of circular stuff going on here. I just couldn't be bothered with doing the pipes, and the same thing with electricity. As long as I've got the power, which we have because it was already pre-built into the map, the residents will be able to access it no matter where they are. So for my water and sewage systems, what that means is I just have to connect a small part of pipe to each of the inputs and outputs, and that way that connects it to the full map. So yeah, currently I've just got this one sewage pump coming out here. What I will eventually do is try and make this all as eco-friendly as possible. I quite like using the water towers and stuff for the sort of water input, because it means I don't have to mess around with the water levels. You know, if I ended up having 20 pumps on here servicing the whole city, it would definitely affect the water level of this area, which could cause problems with flooding and whatnot. So particularly on a map like this, I just don't want that fuss. So I've gone with the water tower just to start us off. That should be enough to sort of get us going on this little starting area. Same thing, single sewage pipe, and all we need to do now is sort of wait for some money to start trickling in. We've already gone bankrupt, so that's good. This shouldn't be an issue though. I do wish I'd have popped down a little... Oh good, no, that's okay. I can do a little bit of that. So, because there's a massive need for industry, I'm just going to do a little bit of industry off each of these, since I don't have any money to build roads, because, well, I went a little bit overboard, didn't I, with this interior stuff. But we've got a very good basis for sort of what's to come. So once we've popped down those industrial areas, we should find that the money starts trickling back in, and we'll be able to continue on with some of the other things once we hit our first milestone, which I believe is fairly soon. Okay, yeah, so we get our next milestone and we'll be able to set our tax limits and loans and things, and also start with the garbage and healthcare, and of course education as well. We come out of there, so let's have a look. So this map is going to allow for a whole sort of 25 block city. I'm not. I mean, I have the 81 tile mod installed, but I don't think this map will work very nicely with that. So I'm not gonna try and force my way into any of these other circles. I'll just unlock them naturally, and when we get to that last part, you know, I will just limit myself to the sort of circles that that Tinkerbell has set up for us here. I am running this currently on a 1060. It is the graphics card I've got in here, so I don't think I'll be able to get this to full sort of size. I think it will just slow to an absolute crawl and be unplayable for me. So we'll see how far we get. I am hoping to get my hands on a newer graphics card at some point in the close future, at which point we'll be able to revisit this with much higher capacities for everything before it starts absolutely crawling. So yep, this is good. We're now back in the green, so we've got plenty of money to be getting on with. We'll just leave it a little while longer. We're about to hit our first milestone, and there we go. So now we can do our taxes. We can take out a loan if we need to. We shouldn't need to. I'm not going to be super impatient with it. And we can also start with things like garbage disposal and our healthcare as well. So the first thing I'll do then, let's go in, set our taxes. Now, I'm pretty sure there's a sort of a hard limit on this somewhere where I think it's 11 or 12% where people just won't complain about the taxes at all. So that's sort of like the highest level you can go where it doesn't upset anyone. So I always like to go straight in for that, make as much money as I can. It won't make them any happier to be, you know, to have that lower than that, I don't think. So I'm just going to set it at that, keep a nice steady trickle of money. If we start having problems with it in the future, once we've got our parks set up to generate us loads and loads of money, we can maybe revisit the taxes there. So yeah, another mod that I've got, just to explain what these checkboxes here are on the left. So this is I believe they call it total auto budget, something along those lines. So what it'll do, it will automatically reduce or increase the cost, sort of the amount of funding you're putting into these areas based on sort of the demands of your city. So you'll probably see if I actually pop in now and plop down a recycling centre, I'm not really interested in using the landfill. I don't think it's particularly a great way of doing it. So let's put it... I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a little road off. Let's grab an industrial road. I think I've got some of those in here somewhere. They're in here. All the UK roads, which I didn't know I still had. Oh yeah, so here's our small industry roads. I can't actually use them yet. Fair enough, let's just use one of these. Do you know what? Fine, we'll just use a standard road. It's not going to particularly have a lot of traffic on it for a good while yet anyway. So if we extend that down, pull it out, and then we'll grab one of these. So there we go. The purple radius is sort of how far the noise will travel. Or is that the little orange one? Either way, we're well outside of the bounds of where our residents are going to be living, so it's not going to upset them. But what we'll find then, we've hit a milestone, so it's turned the simulation speed down. So if we go back into our economy then, so you can see it's automatically this the total auto budget mod has taken down the funding for it, because currently there's no need for those extra trucks, and as our population increases it will automatically increase the funding for this to send out extra trucks. That way I don't end up spending more money than I need to. So let's take a look. What have we got going on now then? So our areas are getting nicely built up. I think we're just starting to see second to last areas now filling in there. The last one here is still yet to start, but it will get there. You just got to sort of leave it a little while. So let's take a look then at our healthcare availability. So I was thinking perhaps to utilise some of these inner bits here for some of these smaller services, so that I don't have to cut into the nice big blocks of residential. So I'm going to put one there. I think that it is going to annoy these. They're not going to get the green roads that they want, but I still think it should serve okay for the others for now. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. We've just not got enough money to place any more, and honestly, placing more is just going to cost us an awful lot in tax. So again, we can check that. So it has reduced it slightly on this. It figures we're still going to need the vast majority of what that healthcare building is popping out. There we go. So we've hit our second milestone now. This is fantastic. So that we can start doing our specializations and adding some policies and such, and setting our districts as well. I don't think we get access to parks in terms of the park areas until the next one. Yeah, and the same thing with our industry areas. So obviously what I will want to do as part of this build is have 5-star industry areas for all of the different industries, because you make an absolute ton of money off those unique goods factories, and if you get the balance right of what you need in each of those areas, you can sort of have all of the unique factories that the city is allowed to have, and have them all producing at 100% without any sort of waste. I'm sure there's a spreadsheet if you search on the City Skylines subreddit. There is a spreadsheet, a couple of versions of that spreadsheet, I think now knocking around, where you can sort of plug in how many of each thing you want, and then it'll tell you how many of the individual input buildings in each of the industry areas that you need in order to have the amount of product you need to create the items that factory produces. So it's a really good way of sort of min-maxing what you're doing with your industry areas. Obviously, in order to get them up to 5 stars, you're going to need to put a lot more into them than is actually required, in order to get all of the factories working efficiently. So you got a bit bananas at first, you get to 5 stars, and then you can trim it all the way back to just what you need, and then you can, if you've still got a demand for industrial, you can just place some more sort of unspecialised industrial, which will produce the goods that your commercial needs anyway. And of course, for your educated citizens, you can place down some office zones as well, because you're certainly not going to be at that point of your city prior to unlocking office zones and things like that, which I think unlock at about 7,500. So yeah, this is going along fairly nicely. So we've got access to a few more things now. Let's pop in a little bit of... So if we've done healthcare here, let's pop the fire one here. And then we'll take a police, station, and we'll pop that sort of here. Ideally, we'll want to get really good coverage of all of this eventually. I think once we're able to get some helicopters in there and stuff, we won't have any real problems with coverage, particularly in a city like this. Anything that's going to get cars off the road is probably a good idea. So I will use some of the helicopters for the emergency services, because that will just allow them to be able to get there without going through these incredibly complicated road systems that Tinkerbell's set up for us. Honestly, I've never seen a map with this much highway detail. It is ludicrous. I'm hoping it all works wonderfully. I'm sure there may be the odd glitch here and there. I don't know how there wouldn't be. The amount of testing it would require to know that every single road in all of these is pointing the right direction and things like that. I'm sure we might find a few snags, but we'll be able to fix those as and when they pop up. So let's have a look. What's our next boundary? So we get park areas. Oh, 850. That should be totally doable. So I think what we'll probably need to do now, because as you can see, all of the areas we've got that we zoned residential are now sort of filled in. So if we zone a little bit more residential, I think what I'll do, just for now, is I'll do these outer areas of that top section and just keep it somewhat separate from the commercial zones that we've got currently. One of the things that I'm going to be going for in this city, I think, is this sort of nice symmetry. I think with all of the circularness and there's a lot of hexagonal stuff going on as well, with the 6 different entry points to each of these islands. I think it's going to look better if we can keep some sort of symmetry. Now I don't want to do every single island in the exact same way. I'm sure that's probably the most efficient way to do it, and there will be a road layout that will absolutely yield the highest density of citizens that you can possibly have. I'm almost certain this map can go well above 1 million population. But yeah, we want to sort of have a little bit of something different in each one, I think. Some of them might end up being more suited to having industry in them rather than commercial and residential. But there won't be a huge need for that. I think probably one of these would be enough to supply all of the zoned industry that the city would need. You know, these are quite large circles, and one of those is definitely going to be enough for 5-star industries of all 4 types. So yeah, we're not going to have too many industry squares. I think one thing that would be really good is we can have some areas that are really heavily reliant on tourism. I think that's going to work. We can do something really nice with this one here, which will end up being sort of the absolute centre of the map. So that it makes sense to try and get some of the monuments in here, maybe sort of build sort of like a central hub where some of those touristy buildings and those, you know, the massive monuments that you can get can exist, where there's not necessarily going to be a huge amount of residential traffic, but it's a focal point in the middle of the city, and we can have all of the tourists funneling that way. So we need to make sure that our mass transit is working really, really well. So we're approaching the next milestone now, aren't we? Oh, and again, it's gone down slow because it's hit a milestone a while back, didn't we? So I'll just speed that back up. We're pretty close now. We should get that in the next minute or so, and then we can progress on to adding some of the some of the extra things that are going to help generate a lot of money for us, namely the park zones. So just while we're waiting for that, let's add in one of these community schools. I think, oh, mind you, the elementary school doesn't seem to take up an awful lot of room. I know with the high school, I get the feeling, I think the generic one has a really large footprint, but the sort of the eco-friendly one is a much smaller footprint. It doesn't reach as many people, but sometimes you just don't want, if you don't have room for the bigger building, you can make do with the smaller one. So we've just unlocked our next topic. We're now tiny town. Fantastic. So we can start with our park areas, which is definitely the first thing I'm going to do here, because that will start rolling in the money. Oh, just while I will finish what I was going to do there. Let's just add a school in. Pop a school there. That'll just give a little bit of education. And here we go, the high school. Pop that in this one. Oh, actually, that fits wonderfully. So we'll just do those two, and then we'll move on to doing a park area. So, first of all, let's zone a park area. Do I not have the Park Life DLC here? Or am I just looking in the wrong spot? It has been a while. Let's have a look. Parks. Yeah, we've got our city park stuff, so we must have a we must have that installed. It's just been a while since I've done anything with that. So how do I zone a? Oh, here we are. So let's grab this paint tool, and I'm just going to do the full inner circle. It's a bit jumpy, it doesn't like that. Can we make that bigger? Yeah, let's make that bigger. Okay, there we go. So we've got our park zone, and let's just go with City Park for now, I think. And I'm not necessarily going to do a large park gate, because that's not the point of what we're doing here. So we take our main gate, and then we take some side gates. I'm just going to pop it in the same place, roughly, on each of these. Unfortunately, it is going to require me to demolish a building over there. That's absolutely fine. And then I think what I'll also do... Oh, we haven't got enough money to do anymore. That's fine. So we'll take then our fancy park paths. Now, how are we going to do this? So we're going to want to make it look nice, aren't we? So let's just go sort of towards the middle for now. I think this might end up looking okay, actually. Ah, not enough money. That's a shame. Oh well. The ones we've already got should actually start generating us some money. So if we open the... No, it's not the budget panel. Somewhere, if we go into here, there we go. Raise the ticket price as high as we can. And then anyone who walks through there, so if someone wants to get from this residential area to this residential area, they're then going to have to to pay the park fine. Fine? I don't suppose it's a fine, is it? It's a ticket price, admission price. So yeah, I think we've covered a fair amount in this first episode. Then I think I am just going to leave it here, and we'll come back to this city in the next episode, and we'll do a little bit more. We'll finish off our little green park area here in the middle, and we'll hopefully start seeing that money really start to flow. What we'll also do is we'll extend all of these residential areas into the gaps that we've got down here, so that we can grab a huge amount more population and start to grow our city and unlock some more areas. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I've been Mr. Brig, and you've been tuning in to the Mr. Brig Plays YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed what you saw today, if you wouldn't mind subscribing or dropping a like on the video, it's greatly appreciated. Alright, have a great day. Bye bye.